Good morning. So now we're going to talk about Travell's math goal. It's that he's able to sort a pile of 3 different objects. Um, for that, we noticed that he was doing really well with colors, so we want to avoid having him sort colors. He's too good at it. So if you gave him like green, blue, and red and yellow, he would just put it down where it's supposed to go. He's too skilled. So we want to challenge him a little bit. So I have 2 different ideas for things that you could do with him. One is big, little, small, and another one are shapes. So I'm going to start with shapes. You're going to want to start with like a piece of paper and just draw on it a triangle, circle, and a square. You could also cut them up so that they're separated. I just have this on here for an example. But you're going to put it on the table in front of him. And then he has these different shapes that he then has to sort. You're then going to cut out triangles, circles, and squares. Ideally, you'd like them to be different colors. So I have a red and yellow triangle. I have a green and red triangle, and I have a green and yellow square. You want them to be different colors of the different shapes, specifically so that he doesn't automatically start to sort based on color. So if you had 2 red triangles and then 2 green circles, he's automatically going to put the green circles together because they're both green, not because they're circles. So you want to mix it up so that he has to look at the characteristic of the shape instead of what color it is. So I had some colored paper. If you don't have colored paper, you could take white paper and color it in with crayons or highlighters, anything you have. You just want 3 different colors. So once you have those ready, you're going to put them near you on your side. So he's going to be sitting right next to you, preferably, and your stuff is going to be in a pile on this side where you can't immediately reach it because you want to limit how much is in front of him at one time. And then when you start with one shape. You're going to have your little mini reinforcements with you to encourage him to keep wanting to participate. So you'll have pieces of a granola bar or pieces of popcorn or chips, something that he really likes. And you'll tell him like first shapes, and then tell him the thing that he's going to get. So first shapes, then granola bar, or first shapes and then popcorn. So that he knows like this is why I'm sitting here, because you want to be able to communicate that. You could also have him choose what he wants after the activity is done. So you could say, what do you want? And then have him get his PEX board. And if he doesn't, go remind him to go get his PEX board and say, tell me what you want, show me. And then from his PEX board, he should be able to pull out something. And if you have it, great. And if you don't, because we were teaching him this as well, you could say not available. So if he pulls out, I don't know, Pop-Tarts, and you don't have Pop-Tarts, you can say not available. And then you could put it back on. You can say like, try again, pick something different, so that he picks something that you're able to give him. Sorry. Then once you have the reinforcement, you're going to have that near you as well so that he sees it and he knows that he's working for it. So like you could have a small bowl like hanging out up here that has pieces of a granola bar in it. You don't want to give him a whole granola bar because then he's not going to want to keep working towards whatever you're working on. For instance, if you gave him something to sort, he puts it down, he gets it right, and you give him a whole granola bar, he's only going to want to sit 2 or 3 times because each time he gets a whole granola bar. And then when he's full, he's going to be unmotivated to keep working on whatever you're working on. That's why you do small pieces. So you're going to be sitting, you're going to have your sheet. I just drew this on with Sharpie in a white piece of paper. I just circled it a second time so that it was more easily seen. But you have that in front of him. And then you say, Travell, sort, square. And then you hand him this. And then he's then supposed to scan and decide like where does this go. If he randomly puts it down, you could say, no, try again. And then he puts it down. You want him to, you have a blank sheet that has the baseline shapes so that he knows where to put it. If you just randomly hand him a square and there's nothing for him to put it into, then he's just going to put it down and there's no point. So you have this so that he is able to put it someplace. So sort square, and then he takes it, and then he's supposed to look, and then he puts it down in square, and you're like, yay, you match square, great job. And then you give him a small piece of a granola bar or popcorn, and then you can move it off of your paper. So this, you can just move it to the side onto the floor, because you don't want too much to be on the paper, because then he's scanning and he's trying to figure out like, oh, there's so much stuff in front of me, like this is getting a little overwhelming. Then you give him another shape. It's a different color because you don't want him to match colors. And you say, Travell, sort triangle. And you give it to him. See what he does. Does he pick it up and does he put it on triangle? Great. Tons of reinforcement. Give him a piece of the granola bar again. Or he puts it in the wrong spot. If he puts it in the wrong spot, you would just help say like, oh, try again, and then give it to him again. If you, again, with the other videos, I mentioned this, if he puts it down in the wrong spot up to 3 times, by the 3rd time, you take his hand, like just grab his hand and help him move it to the correct spot. Say, triangle, that's a triangle. And then you can have him do it, have him grab it, and then you could help him guide it over there if that's too hard. Once you're done with it, you put it on the floor again because you're not working on that thing anymore. The next thing you could do is a circle. It's another color, it's green. And you give him the circle, say sort circle, and then he takes it, and then he's able to match it to the circle. If you want, you could then bring out all the shapes that he had previously and put them back on the board and show him, like triangle, square, circle, so that he knows these are the different things. And if you did that, you could then try, after you know that he's gotten the shapes of the different colors, you can then bring out shapes that are a different color while you keep these on the page. So the first way to do this activity would just be, you have the 3, and then you keep going through the same 3 shapes. So I have a red triangle, a green circle, and a yellow square. You would just keep going through those. So you'd reset it, and then you try again. Like match circle, and you give him circle. Does he put it in circle? Great, tons of praise. Match square, give him square. He puts it in the right spot. Tons of praise. Match triangle, and you could do this like 2 or 3 times, so then he has to put something down a decent handful of times. If you did these 3 different times, he'd be putting something down up to 9 times that he's getting this practice, which is great for that repetition. At this point, the second thing that you could do to make it more challenging with the shapes is bring out the second color shape and say, match triangle. Now, automatically, he's going to want to try to put it on yellow because both things are yellow. So you could say, nope, this is a triangle. Try again. And then again, up until the 3rd time, if he keeps messing it up because he's trying to do it with square, you could then help grab his hand and say, triangle. Triangles. Match circle, and then he's gonna look, and red's now covered, so he can't match it on red, but now there's kind of more going on the board, so he has to decide, does he want to just put it down because he thinks, like, he might get confused because he's trying to do colors, but that's why you do repetition, and then you help him and do hand over hand for a while if he gets confused, and then you could do red, and then you can do green. So that's how to do the shape activity. Hopefully that makes sense. You could reach out if you have any questions about that. But again, the main supplies for this would just be like a blank white or black piece of paper that has the general shapes that are neutral. They have no color. They're just the baseline so that he knows where he can put his stuff. And you want 3 different shapes. They also don't have to be triangle, circle, and square. They could be oval, star, something else. These are just like pretty basic shapes that you want him to be able to learn. So they're an example. So I'd recommend those 3 because they're more manageable, I think, and just generic shapes. And then, so after you have that baseline sheet of paper, you're going to also have cut out shapes of a color with either colored paper or paper that you've colored in and then cut into those shapes. and you want them to be different colors so that he has to learn that this red triangle and this yellow triangle are the same, because we're not sorting color, we're sorting shapes. The next activity that you could do with him to focus on that math goal of matching different groups of objects are sizes. For sizes, you want to do the opposite of shapes. You want them all to pretty much be the same color. So I have big squares, medium squares, and little squares. You want them all to be the same color because you don't want him focused on the color sorting again. You don't want him to get thrown and start to think, oh, I'm trying to put them based on color, because he's really good at that and that's what he wants to default to. So if you have them all be the same color, then all he's looking at is there is something different about these three things. They're all the same color, so it can't possibly be that. It has to be something else. So for this, you're going to, you could have the baseline ones out so that he sees them. So you can have a big square, medium square, and a little square as the baseline, so that when you hand him something, he puts it in the right spot. So you can say, match little square, or little, like not even the shape, match little. You hand it to him, and then it's a new concept and he hasn't really been exposed to this very much. So he might just put it down in the random spot because it's all yellow. You have to say like, oh, it's little, try again. And then you could show him, because this is a totally new thing for him. So you can even model it or do it for him the first few times so that he sees it. So you can say, this is a big square. Oh, big squares. This is a medium square. Medium square. This is a little square. Little square. Okay, your turn. Match medium. You give it to him, and then he's looking, and he's trying to figure it out. He puts it on big. You say, oh, try again. Medium. Medium. And you model the word so that it's like, oh, this word is associated with this. So medium square. If he puts it in, if he puts it in the wrong spot, you give him a few opportunities so that he could try. But by the third, again, you'd help and move his hand, say, medium square, this is medium. And then you give him something little, match little. And he gets a little bit confused, and then you could show him little square, and then again with big square. If 3 of these shapes are too challenging for him because he hasn't really been exposed to size, you can take out the middle one so that the difference between the two is more obvious, where you have something really big and something really small. And then you could say like, where's the big square? And give him big. And then he has to look, but now there's only 2 things that he has to figure out which one it matches. And then he'd probably be more successful. And then you could then build up to when he's able to do it out of 2, and you could bring in the third. Supplies for this that you'll need are 2 of each shape. So 2 of something big, 2 of something medium, 2 of something small. You also don't need paper. At school we would use, or we brought it up once or twice, these little toy bears, and one would be kind of big, one's a little bit medium, one's a little bit little, but you want them to be the same somehow. So all the big ones need to be the same object. You can't have like one big bear and then one big lion, because then there's too many characteristics and it's getting confusing. So paper is pretty easy because you can make it all look the same. But if you had toys that were identical, like tiny little like dolls, if you had a bunch of large dolls, a bunch of like medium-sized dolls, and a bunch of little dolls, but whatever you use, you want it to be the same, so that he then has to scan and be like, oh, this doll that I have is big. I have to put it with the other big ones, and it's not little. Hopefully that was helpful. Those are 2 different ways that you can work on Travell's math goal with him. I hope it works, and you can let me know which one might be working better.